Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WYTV7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. My friends, come and join me just for a moment and imagine how amazing you'd feel living the unique and distinct life that you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value to others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance, and I can tell you it makes for a very happy life. And so can my friend, Dr. Tom Sult. He's here to share his unique and distinct journey to his life of significance too. But before we bring him on, I'd like to share a poem that we created to thank him for being our guest star today. It's called The Work of Healing, and it goes like this. In the quiet spaces where sickness meets fear, a brave heart leans in, choosing always to hear. Through science and soul, he uncovers what's true, that the work of healing begins from within you. With steady compassion and wisdom refined, Tom walks with the hurting, restoring their mind. Each story reminds him, and his patients learn before long, that in the work of healing, the broken can grow strong. So come take a journey where wellness is real, where root causes matter, and the body reveals its endless capacity to rise and renew. Tune in to discover what the work of healing can do. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. That's a beautiful poem.
Very good. Glad you liked it. Well, get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
Yeah, well, so I'm a functional medicine physician and I treat root cause. So every day I'm sitting knee to knee with somebody who's in desperate need, right?
Tom,
And
just,
trying
Tom,
to
Tom, just for our audience, I know many don't know what functional medicine means, so they know what a doctor means. So just give a 60-second difference between a normal doctor experience and a functional medicine doctor for a layperson that doesn't know.
a conventional doctor is really asking the question, what? What is wrong? And they come to a diagnosis, and then from that diagnosis, there's a protocols that you follow, right? You have rheumatoid arthritis, so you try this drug, and if that doesn't work, you try this drug, and if that doesn't work, you try this drug. In functional medicine, we're asking the question, why? So,
Hmm.
okay, you have rheumatoid arthritis, but why? Why you? How come it's not the guy down the street or the guy behind your house? How come it's you? That's a
Mm-hmm.
totally different question, and it gets to the root cause. So people come in and they say, my hands are really stiff, and I'm asking about something that seems really completely unrelated, like their gut or something, or their
Mm-hmm.
stress or their whatever. And, we work with that, and all of a sudden their hands aren't stiff anymore.
Mm.
So this question why really gets underneath the diagnosis to help people understand their personal journey of the antecedents. So what predisposed you, the triggers, what set it off, and the mediators, what are key, either mediators are things that either help you get better or keep you sick. So we
Mm.
work with that kind of stuff to try to figure out how to get you better.
Wonderful. And what about the work you do in teaching and mentoring?
Yeah, so I work for the Institute for Functional Medicine. That's kind of the premier educational organization for functional medicine. I've taught on, I guess, 5 continents now and thousands of providers all over the world. And that makes my practice very interesting because all of my literally thousands of students, when they have a really complicated case, guess who they call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great also because you're gathering experience
Yeah.
personally, but also through your students.
Right. So yeah, and I'm writing books about it, and I just embarked on creating my digital twin through Delphi and all that kind of good stuff to try to expand my reach.
Wow, I haven't heard about that yet. Tell us about your writing though, because I've got down in my notes. You've been writing a blog for a long time. You wrote for blog posts for Happy Living back when we started, which we really appreciated. And you've written 2 books nearly 10 years apart. So tell the audience how your 2 books different, what they are and how they're different, and how the blog uh, augments any books that your readers might want to read.
Yeah, well, so my first book is called Just Be Well. and it is really about the fundamentals of functional medicine. Each chapter is about an aspect of what we call the functional medicine matrix. And so it takes you on a journey but through sort of vignettes of different patients in each chapter. And then the final chapter kind of puts it all together in a more complicated case. Um, and that was really just to sort of, there weren't that many popular books about functional medicine at that time. So I just
Hmm.
wanted to kind of help people understand what it was. And then over the years, I've probably have 10 books that I'm not quite ready to release. I've written various ones over the years. One I particularly like, I haven't quite finished yet, called A Life Without Complaints, which is
Uh,
about not complaining. um,
the
but the one
world,
I
the world
have,
needs that one, Tom. The world needs that one.
I know, and I'm going to get it done eventually, but it just isn't there. The one actually, I guess it's up behind me there, but this is a pre says not for resale on it because it's a pre-gallery. But this one, Find Your Core, Journey Back to Self. What I've discovered, or what I believe to be true, is that the ills of modern man are really about stress and about toxins. We talk about diet, and yeah, one of the toxins is highly processed foods and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But if you really look at the blue zones are these places around the world where people live long, healthy lives. They have a very long
Hmm.
health span, not just lifespan. And yeah, everybody makes a big deal out of their diet, and they do tend to have a whole foods, kind of diet. But what they also have is a society that supports a sense of purpose and
Hmm.
place and meaning. And all of
Hmm.
that is a way of managing your stress.
Yep.
So, in this book, I'm trying to help you discover your core beliefs and how to kind of reframe those limiting beliefs into empowering beliefs.
Yep.
And then from that, discover your values. And from that, create purpose and meaning and all that kind of stuff. So that's what that book is about. And I'm very excited about it. And then I'm actually, we've started a community on, what do you call that thing? Mighty community, Mighty Networks, a community called Just Be Well. And
Mm.
in there, we interact with people and try to create community. And then I'm creating some purpose-built communities. One for, I treat a lot of people with chronic Lyme disease. Chronic
Hmm.
Lyme disease is one of those orphan illnesses that's absolutely epidemic, but everybody thinks it's made up and you're just a faker and a liar and a loser. And these people are seriously sick, right?
Yeah.
So we're creating an environment where they can not only get expert help from my team and I, but also have community where they can feel connected and
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
doing a lot of stuff.
Very good, Tom. Well, now let's do a little mathematics so our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's super simple, but it's very powerful, and it goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's start with power. What are your personal practices for building up all the power that you need to get things done, whether that's physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, Tom, what do you do on a regular basis to create all the power you need to take really good care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty in reserve to be a giver to others?
So I meditate 30 minutes every night before bed. I meditate for usually 30 minutes to an hour when I wake up in the morning.
Wow.
I go out, rain or shine, hot or cold. This morning it was 5 below. Go outside and play with my Newfoundlands for a couple of hours, run through the woods and do whatever they want to do. This morning they thought it would be fun to stick their noses in some holes that I think might have been skunk
Uh-oh.
dens, so they didn't get squirted, but I was thankful for that. But anyway, we're doing that. I run, I cross country ski. I got a bunch of chucklehead buddies, and so we call ourselves the Geriatric Telemark Society because we telemark ski.
Very
And
good.
our sons are now coming with us. They're old. Well, my
Nice.
sons are 40. So, one of my sons is coming with us. And the younger set, they're still deep in, we're kind of slowing down. We're doing resort skiing and side country, but they want to go backcountry. So we're actually going backcountry skiing to Japan I didn't know this, but it turns out northern Japan is the capital of the universe. So
Wow.
we're going to powder country. So, doing stuff like that, doing just goofy stuff, whether it's running out to the local park and going for a quick cross country ski at night with a headlamp, or if it's, you know, playing with the dogs or playing with the grandkids, all of that
Yeah.
stuff is absolutely, you like these Japanese words, so I'm going to throw one out there, ikigai, or
Yeah.
I can't even say it, but it's
I,
a word that means sort of the intersection of
I
joy
think
and
it's,
purpose
yeah,
and
I think it's ikigai, I think.
ikigai. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other word I love is Ubuntu, which is a South African word, which means I am because we are.
Oh, that's good.
And
Yeah.
it's this idea that identity, dignity, and well-being are really arise through relationship. And so that goes back to my kind of
Yeah.
passion about building these communities to help people somehow who are
Yeah.
marginalized, get back into community with people that they can identify with and feel connected to, and so on.
So that's really great. Part of working, exercising or practicing to get more power is a disciplined exercise of building and maintaining your community.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's very
And I'm
good.
terrible at it. I mean, to be honest, when the pandemic happened, I didn't even notice because I'm a bookworm. I was just sitting in my easy chair doing this,
Yeah.
or writing it or something. I'm like the most introverted human being you'll ever meet. So the idea that I'm building community is kind of comical on some level, but it's a passion because I realize
That's
so
good.
deeply how essential it is.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, Tom, let's stay back on some Japanese words. And my favorite power generating concept is called a Kaizen state of mind.
Yep.
It's a beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And it's so powerful because it's all about your mindset, not circumstance. Kaizening life is knowing I can always do something better tomorrow than today. It creates a gentle, relentless, never ending power that keeps lifting me higher and higher day after day after day. So, Tom, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continue giving more and impacting even more lives?
Well, so some concepts are very simple. They're just not easy,
Correct.
right? And that's a
Yes.
very simple concept.
Hmm.
But it takes discipline to actually be thinking that way. So, what do I do? Well, I do meditation every day, right? And guess
Hmm.
what? There's a whole bunch of reasons why I shouldn't meditate. I got lots of stuff to do. But one of my favorite stories, everybody's heard this story, I'm sure, but the old woodsman's walking through the woods and he sees the young woodsman, and the young one was struggling like crazy trying to chop down a tree. And the old guy says, "Man, that must be a hard tree." And he goes, "Nope, not a hard tree." Well, long story short, what's going on? Well, my axe is dull. Your axe is dull.
Hmm.
Well, sharpen your axe. Well, I don't have time to sharpen my axe. You know,
Right.
so, but that's where we all are, right?
Yep.
We are living in this all yang, all the time society where we seem to think our value somehow is related to what we put out
Right.
instead of our value simply be intrinsic in being human.
Yeah.
And so by simply valuing the fact that I'm human rather than my output, it gives me the freedom to say, no, I'm gonna sit down right now and I'm gonna meditate. And then what happens, I meditate, like this morning, I meditated, and when I came out of meditation, I was like, all right, let's go. I am ready. And
Yeah.
I got on my computer and I'm writing all this stuff. I'm creating this digital clone of myself so I can have a bigger reach, and all this crazy stuff is happening. And I'm going on this podcast. I mean, all these great things are happening.
Good. Can you have your digital clone do the meditation for you?
No, I wouldn't want it to.
No, that's right. And then let's go one step deeper in Kaizen. How would Kaizen apply to something like meditating? Because I know a lot of people have a hard time meditating. And so Kaizen would be, once you've figured out how to sit still for 5 minutes, going to 10 is somehow easier because you're building on the practice of the five. So talk about how that's impacted your life.
So first of all, I want to say there's no such thing as a bad meditation.
Okay, correct.
Um, so the whole point of meditation is to become aware of what we call your monkey mind. Although I
Hmm.
think we should call it a human mind because I don't think monkeys really have monkey minds. Like my dogs, they're so present all the time. It's just
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, it's
One of my
beautiful.
favorite cartoons is a guy sitting on a bench by himself, and his dog is sitting next to him, and there's a big balloon over the guy, and it says, airplane trip, money, taxes, this, that, the other thing, and the dog has a bubble over him, and it's only him and the guy sitting next to each
Yeah,
other, nothing
yeah,
else, right?
yeah,
And that's true,
yeah,
but we don't do it that way. We go, oh my God, like this all the time. But if you become aware of that today, I was aware of it for a nanosecond before I just was so unaware of it that I was just going like crazy. But
hmm,
tomorrow I can be aware of it for 2 nanoseconds and the next day
yep,
4 nanoseconds.
that's it.
And this idea of continuous improvement is not grandiose. It's not like, oh, I went to my Six Sigma training.
Correct.
It's it's
That's
I
right.
it's that
That's funny.
I just figured out a tiny little improvement.
Yeah,
Like as an example, I'm really interested in this guy named Chris Voss. He's got a company called the Black Swan Group. He's a former FBI hostage negotiator, and little tiny things like um, here's one that'll be really surprising: listening to understand rather than listening to respond. Right? So
yep,
you do little things like that, and you catch yourself listening to respond instead of listening to understand. And that little tiny, oh, this
yep,
time I remembered. It's that
yep,
little tiny thing. It's not some giant thing.
yep. That's why it's so brilliant. And it's one after another. It's easy to do, and you can, if you become mindful of it, then you can be thinking about what can I Kaizen tomorrow. And I'll tell you, I'll give you one of my favorites. It happened about a year ago, and I just decided to stop having cream in my coffee. And so what that did was, because I used to drink it black and then I went cream and then back and forth. And so now living in a van. I don't have to buy cream anymore. Doesn't take up any space in the fridge. The coffee container stays more clean. Everything's faster. It's just that one little tiny thing had a pretty big impact on my
Yeah,
life. And
right.
so what's the next thing you can do? And it can be personal relationships, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. But if you start thinking about how can you Kaizen, then you're going to find a way to do it better tomorrow.
Yeah, or even the next hour.
One last thing on your meditation. I heard this quote because you talk about just getting to the present moment, like that dog with his bubble. The the present moment is when time intersects all of eternity. What does that mean to you?
Well, there's so many great sayings. I love that one. I'm going to write that one down actually. But so, if you have one foot in the past and one foot in the future, you've got nothing to stand on right now, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
another one. But think about this. If you are constantly thinking about what you did yesterday, I mean, all of us can do this, but I can think of a conversation or an event from like third grade and I could get embarrassed by it, even today, right? I mean, that's how goofy we are as human beings.
yeah,
But if a bunch of your energy is about the past and the other bunch of your energy is about stuff you're worrying about in the future, you got no energy for right now. And there's only one flow of time that is actually in existence. And
yeah,
it is this moment. But I
yeah,
call it the flow of now because now is already
yeah,
gone,
yeah,
right? Right
yeah.
now. Oh, it's gone.
Correct, correct. It's a
But the
flow.
flow of now is
Yeah,
where we presently are.
yeah. That's the only place we can be.
Right.
And the past is already gone. And almost everything you think about in the future is completely made up. Never happens.
Never happens.
almost
We're
almost
living
all
a
of it.
life. Yeah, we're living a life of tragedy that never actually
Correct.
happens.
Correct.
And even
All
our
right.
memories are that way. We live
Correct.
memories that are far more
That's
tragic than they actually were,
that's true. Or beautiful,
or
as the
beautiful.
case may be. All right. Let's move on to purpose because we could stay right where we were for a long time.
Yep.
Purpose is the second part of our happy formula, and I've observed that major life transformations, that big discovery of purpose, sadly, often comes from devastation,
The
addiction,
dark night of the
abuse.
soul.
Yes, something awful strips a life right to its core, resulting in a big and often unexpected outcome, a big change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I use to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So, how about you, Tom? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the unique and distinct purpose you were meant to live?
Well, a bunch of them, and I'm going to culminate in the biggest one. But when we talked about this just before the show that when I was in third grade, I was so incredibly good at it, I got invited back, and that was extremely tragic because everybody in my life except for me knew this was going to happen apparently, and they're handing out, out third grade in last day of school, everybody's excited and
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So,
and they're
Tom,
handing
Tom,
out the grades.
oh, go ahead. I'm
And
sorry.
I got this little slip. It says, you're coming back, buddy. And so now I'm on the bus on my way home, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm in so much trouble. I'm like never
Yeah,
going to be able to go outside again in the rest of my life. And
yeah,
I get home and I tell my mom. She goes, yeah, I know. It's like, well, why
yeah.
didn't somebody tell me?
How horrible was that summer, but more importantly, going to third grade the next year? How how did you feel about that?
Oh,
Is it
it was the most crushing thing I had. Well, it's in third grade, so it couldn't have been that
yeah,
bad, but it was the most
yeah,
crushing thing. I was like,
yeah.
what is going on? And I was changing schools because I was going into a special school for kids with dyslexia and all this
Oh,
stuff.
jeez.
No friends. Oh my God, the world's
Yeah,
coming to an end,
yeah.
you know, all that kind of stuff. But guess what? It was a great thing. I got to learn some things, and unfortunately, in special ed, I learned a whole bunch of new words. They all had four letters because all the kids were maybe I was there because of dyslexia, but a lot of them were there because of other more significant behavioral things.
Yeah, right. That's yeah.
And then in college, like I just mentioned, I have dyslexia, so I wasn't maybe the best student on the planet, but I wanted to go to med school. I sort of said, okay, med school is maybe an unrealistic goal. So I went to paramedic school and I was a paramedic for a bunch of years. But I was working in an ER and I just kept thinking, I'm doing all the work here. I order all the labs. I do everything before the doc even sees the patient. These guys aren't that smart. I can do this job. So I decided to go back to college and get a degree and, applied to 42 US medical schools and didn't get a single interview.
Wow.
So that was sort of one of those, ego deflating episodes as well. But then I went to acupuncture school, learned a
Uh,
whole bunch about holism, which was kind of my whole thing. And it turns out
hmm.
medical school is not about holism. um, and
Huh.
while I was there, people were talking about these foreign medical schools. So I thought, oh, hey, that's a good idea. Guadalajara, I can't speak English. How am I going to speak Spanish?
Yeah,
But then I found out there were places in the Caribbean that spoke English. So I went there and then 2 years in the Caribbean, that's not such a bad gig. And
yeah.
then transferred to UCLA. So my medical degree is from UCLA, which is, okay.
So had life worked out for you the way you wanted it, you would have gone regular medicine. You
Yep.
would have probably never learned about functional medicine,
Right.
and this life you're leading would just have never happened.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely.
I
So,
didn't know that.
we can look back at things and say, "Oh, I didn't get that break," or we can look forward and say, "Wow, look, this is awesome," which it is. I've always lived a charmed life. I say that to this day, but there have been moments when it didn't feel charmed, right?
Correct.
So the next big hurdle in my life is losing my wife. Um,
Mm,
she was the picture of health, and we were like set to be old together, right? Had our kids, well, she had kids. I didn't have kids, but they're my kids, my sons, and um, then for I did a colonoscopy on her because she was healthy and it was easy, and she wanted me to do it, so I did, and found a giant tumor in her colon.
mm,
Her initial prognosis was measured in months, but fortunately, she was able to have a massive surgery. So, I'm a holistic doctor, and people think, oh, that means you don't do surgery. No, I do it all. You don't go into the ring with Muhammad Ali in his prime with your hand tied behind your back. And
correct.
if your
Yeah.
hand is behind your back, it should be because you're carrying a club or something.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she had this massive surgery, and after surgery, they said, with chemo and blah blah blah. You probably have 2 years, 2 years.
Mm,
And we did all of that plus all the functional medicine, and she survived 8 years, and she was able to see the birth of a couple of her children. But I have
mm.
to tell you that that took the wind out of my sails in a way that I've never experienced. I was more than crushed. I was completely immobile.
Yeah, Tom, you and I have known each other for quite a while, but we're not like buddy good friends. But just from a distance watching you, I didn't know if you were going to come back from it. I said, "Oh my
I didn't
God,
either.
we're losing Tom." So how
Yeah,
did
I
you
didn't
get?
know if I was going to come back from it either.
Mm,
Couple years after she passed, I was still pretty desperate and not really having any direction, not knowing which way was up, not being able to even think in a coherent way. And that takes a toll on everything. I lost a lot of friends over it. Because you should snap back. Come on, go to the concert with us.
hmm
Well, do I really want to go to a concert with three other couples and me and sit there and wonder where the heck my wife is? No,
mm,
I didn't. So, it just kind of, they went on and I didn't. But so then at some point, and it all, you know what it boiled down to?
mm,
I felt like if I just sat there really still, maybe it didn't really happen.
mm,
There was this sort of magical thinking like, oh, she's going to come home. Something's going to
mm.
happen. Something better. It's got to happen. But at some point, I kind of shook myself and I said, life happens among the living. And
What caused that? Was there a catalyst or an incident or what was the change? Because you go from being overwhelmed and it's not worth it to, hey, life is for the living.
I read Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind.
Ah,
I was desperate. I was
good.
trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
I'm not a drug guy, right? So I'm not going to take a bunch of weird drugs. And that's what most of his book is about. But I was like, I'm reading this thing and I saw a little sentence in there about holotropic breath. I said, well, what's that? A drugless way to kind of get a deeper, insight. And so I looked it up. I went to a retreat. I went to the first retreat and I said, okay, something's going on here. And I I had an experience. I had a psychedelic experience by hyperventilating.
Wow.
And the experience was that I was, I was floating, in my grief, I was kind of floating in this black cave. But in holotropic breath, I ended up in the same black abyss, but I learned to call it the beatific abyss, this beautiful abyss.
Mm,
And and Robin came to me. Not I didn't see her, I didn't hear her, but I felt her presence.
mm,
And I had this intense feeling like, because of my acupuncture training, right? I had this intense feeling like I didn't have enough chi to help her. I'd lost my chi. And her presence said, no, no, no. You didn't lose your chi. You didn't have it. I took your chi. I took your chi to make a safe crossing.
jeez. Wow.
And she said, I'm doing great. And you need to leave it alone. You need to just let go. You need to live a life.
Wow.
And so
That's great.
I'm like, I'm fighting back tears right now. But so that happened, and I came home and I said, I just gotta, I gotta stand up. I gotta do this. I gotta, and then, but there's so much shame about it. Like I was not present for my sons. They
Mm,
lost their mom, and
yeah.
I was just this oil
Yeah.
stain. I was
Yeah.
just completely useless. And to this day, I carry shame and guilt about that. But, I'm working towards, they don't feel it's a repair of the relationship because they say, listen, we know you were crushed.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just abandoned every
Yeah.
human being, including
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what happened. And but it was really just figuring out, somewhere, someplace that life is lived among the living, and man, you got to
Yeah.
just stand up and get back to it. When I really didn't
And
want to, right? I
yeah.
didn't want to. I was like, yeah, I kind of envisioned myself being like just this sort of grumpy old man for the rest of my life who
Yeah.
lives alone. But life's too beautiful for that.
100%. And just for clarity for the audience, for the audience sake. Your wife, Robin, took your chi, not your cheese.
Yeah. Did I say cheese?
No, no, I was trying to make a
You're
little
just,
bit of a
yeah.
light
That's a
in
great book
this.
too, though, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So, well, very good. And this, just to wrap this story up, you're remarried to a beautiful woman, and so you're living that charmed life even through the devastation of losing Robin.
I have well, I have all my children are stepsons. I'm not able to have kids for some inborn error reason, but I have two sons through Robin, and they have five grandchildren all together, and that's a beautiful thing. And Elizabeth, my wife, has four kids and two grandkids. So, and
Wow.
they're all of them are in and out of the house, and we have this beautiful, chaotic home. So it's a beautiful life, as the movie says.
Good. Well, you're a lucky man. Well,
I am.
thank you for all that, Tom. Now let's take a quick commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience.
Are you ready to transform your life? At happyliving.com, we've discovered 4 keys to help you live with purpose, joy, and significance. Unlock your truth with the Happy Quiz. Unlock your happy formula with inspiring stories from the Something Significant Show. Unlock your roadmap to happiness with our free ebook, Making Your Mark of Significance. And unlock your inspired life with our life-changing e-course, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life. This is your time to shine. Go to happyliving.com now and click Unlock the Power of You. Unlock your power. Live your best life. happyliving.com.
Kits for Kids are materials handed out by first responders to children during emergencies. The goal of distributing these kits is to mitigate the emotional trauma children experience during distressing events. These kits also help foster positive interactions between first responders and children, building trust and reducing anxiety. These kits feature toys and activities for children to engage with, providing distractions and stimulation. Models of first responder vehicles help children familiarize themselves with emergency personnel. Additionally, the kits include noise-canceling headphones and raincoats to help comfort children during distressing events. You can directly support Kits for Kids in several ways, including donating directly or sponsoring fundraising, volunteering your company for team building, or referring a law enforcement or first responder department to receive kits. Thank you for your support. Please visit www.wytv7.org for more information.
And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. And my special guest star today is Dr. Tom Sult. He's a physician, author, and teacher known for blending science, compassion, and root cause wisdom to help people truly heal. With decades of clinical experience, Tom guides patients, students, and communities toward ownership of their health and clarity about their lives. His integrity, humility, and fierce devotion to whole person wellness make him a powerful force for healing in our world. And Tom, I just love this whole person wellness concept of yours. And I think you're going to love this article that I found called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It actually says that the simple act of giving can become a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. The science confirms that when we give our time and our talents and our treasures, it doesn't just help others, but it transforms us too. It helps us overcome obstacles, it helps us to find meaning, and it helps us to discover our purpose. So I updated our formula. Power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy.
Yeah.
So how about you, Tom? Has giving your time, talents, and treasure been a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting through hardships in your life and for bringing real meaning into your life?
You know, when I was a kid, my mom always used to say, it's better to give than to receive. And I
Right.
thought, what are you talking about? It's Christmas.
That's right. No, Mom.
But the truth is, it's so much better. I mean, giving of time, giving of resources is far more important than anything else I do. There's really only one thing I have to give, and it's presence. And I don't mean Christmas presents. I mean my physical presence or my, attention, say. And every single day, and I see people who've been sick for decades, right? They come in, they've been seen by their local doc, they've been seen by the local specialist, they've been seen at the University of Minnesota, they've been seen at the Mayo Clinic, they've driven down to Ohio or wherever and seen, somebody else. And then they drive 2 hours through the cornfields to rural Minnesota to find me. And they got to be thinking, was there, like some of them fly into Minneapolis and they get in a rental car and they drive out. They got to be thinking, well, this guy must live in the suburbs. And then they keep going and they're going, well, he's really out here in the outer ring. And then they keep going and they got to be thinking, I hope this guy's not in the Bates Hotel,
Yeah,
I hope
right.
he doesn't have a basement or something. They got to be thinking some weird things. But anyway, they get here, or it's online or whatever these days. And they will say, after all of these years of searching, gosh, you're the only guy who's ever really listened. And that just makes me weep. I mean, I'm a crybaby anyway, but I spend a good portion of my day crying knee to knee with these people because they're so desperate and they're so ill,
There's lots of good people in the traditional or conventional medical system, but the system is so corrupt and broken that you can't give, as a doctor, what you just said. You can't give your presence. You're not allowed to.
No, you have to.
The system doesn't let you, exactly. So
quotas,
yeah. So your patients must be shocked when you sit down and start talking to them, and looking at their watch. How long is he's still talking to us?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I see. This is part of my slowdown program. I see one patient an hour. Period. So I just they like come in talking fast, and I say, okay, well, first of all, we got an hour, so calm down.
Yeah.
But
good.
But yeah, so that's such a powerful thing to give, and such a powerful thing. It's another funny thing. People say, people will say thank you, and then your response is, oh, no, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Right.
That's just rude.
That's right.
It is something. You should say thank you.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Well, so, and that's a cultural thing too. But so the science tells us that giving to others helps bring real meaning to our lives. And the joy that we feel from that fourth part of our definition, doing work that creates value for others, confirms it. But there's something more to it than just the giving, Tom. You see, I believe that the magic of life comes when you're giving from living in your purpose, because that's where the joy flows, and not just to the receiver, but to the giver too. And what's amazing is even to people witnessing the giving. So I'd love our audience to witness what that magic looks like in your life. So my friends, sit back, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact that you're making on their lives by giving from living in your purpose. One person said, Dr. Tom Sult is a living legend in northern Minnesota. Another said, finding a doctor that listens and figures out the complexities of our individual bodies is incredible. Another, as a scientist, his expertise encourages me to do good with my patients. Others said, Dr. Tom knows what he's doing, what he's talking about. Dr. Sult has given me my life back. He's saved my sense of self. He seemed to care more than my other doctors. He gave us hope. He's a pioneer, a listening ear, a big game changer. Adventurous, empathetic, encouraging. Holistic, inspiring, insightful. He's kind, open-minded, and professional. Quiet, reflective, and respectful. Patient and uplifting, wonderful, and wise. Dr. Sult is a wellness toolbox. He helps people restore mind, body, and spirit. A shining light for health and balance, a great adventurer at heart. Tom and his wife really do a good job of reflecting a life worth living. And finally, this person said simply, I think he's a miracle worker. So Tom, how does all that incredible love make you feel?
Well, how could it not feel great? But if you're going to accept the good, you have to accept the bad. So I try to, those are their experiences and I honor their experiences, but I'm not going to let it go to my head. I'm just going to keep working hard to do the next best thing.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And that's it, folks. That's what this show is all about. We're here, Tom and me and all our guest stars, to encourage you, our listeners, to find that same magic in your life. It's available for all of you. That's
Yep.
what I believe. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time, talents, and treasures is a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose. And then giving from living in your purpose brings a profound joy to your life and to the lives of those around you too. So it seems that giving leads to purpose and giving from purpose leads to joy. So Tom, if I'm going to capture the entire exponential power of the happy formula, I'm going to need to tweak it just a tiny bit more to power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
I would even say use the giving as an exponent rather than a multiplication.
There you go. That much more powerful.
So, there was a study done in, I believe it was done in Sweden because they have these, nationalized insurance and all that, and they can do these big database studies. And they asked the question, if you're 60, what's it take to get to 90? And they looked at, stuff like smoking and taking your high blood pressure medicine and blah, 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 all that stuff, getting your flu shot. You know what the number 2 thing was? Having a close-knit group of friends that you could rely on in an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
You know what number 1 was? They called it social integration, and it amounts to this. When you're walking down the street and you're about to enter a building and you open the door, you look at the person behind you in the eye and you say, good morning, and you let them pass through.
Yeah,
You
a little
walk
act of
up to the
giving.
barista, you look them in the eye and you say, good morning, how are you? Those are the skills that get you to 90 in a healthy way, not all the noise we hear about every day.
Yeah, and you can describe what you just called as politeness, but that's a form, a
Of giving.
small form of giving. That's a
Yep,
little Kaizen giving moment. Doesn't
that's
take
right.
much, but it makes this great big impact, not just on the person that you're giving to, but as you said, it's helping you live healthier. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, my friend, let's wrap things up with the lightning round. We've done all this math. I love the power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So I'm going to read a few of my favorites. And these reminded me of your conviction and your courage and your resilient spirit as I was doing research on you. So I'm going to ask you to tell us what they mean to you. Give us the first thing that pops to your mind, Tom. Not the first word, but the first thoughts, because we call this a lightning round. So here we go. This is from Rumi, and he said, the quieter you become, the more you're able to hear.
Yeah. Well, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Yeah, it's not really about, well, that's a beautiful thing. I love Rumi. I don't think he's ever said a thing I didn't just stop me in my tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, this is from George William Curtis. And he says, happiness lies first of all in health.
Well, I'm going to disagree with him. I have many patients who don't have health, but they have, so it's possible to heal your life, even if you can't heal your disease.
Mm,
So it's possible to be unwell and still be happy.
mm.
And I think that's an important message because sometimes people have diseases that we're for all kinds of reasons maybe we can't fix, but that doesn't mean they can't heal their life. That means they can't heal it doesn't mean they can't heal their relationships, and it doesn't mean they can't be happy. So
Yeah,
I'm going to disagree with that one.
well, we allow disagreement here, but I want to challenge just this little bit.
Sure.
When I was first developing happy living, I came up with my 4 fitnesses: physical, mental, spiritual, and financial.
Mhm.
And my image of power and fitness was from my own perspective of what I thought fitness was as an athlete.
Sure.
And I learned over time that I was missing the whole point was not my fitnesses, it was to have power you need to take care of yourself. And one of the lessons I learned was from watching BB King, the brilliant guitarist Lucille, who was by most definitions, you wouldn't say he was physically fit. By
Yeah.
most definitions, you wouldn't say he's probably eating the right diet. So
Yeah.
was he healthy? Well, I would have said in my old days, no. And my new way of thinking, yes, he had all the capacity he needed to take good care of himself. So you're people who are ill with a disease, but are building strength through their spirit and their mind. Maybe they're not completely healthy, but they might be a lot more healthy than somebody who has physical health, but mental strife.
Yeah. I agree with that. So yeah, we're in agreement there.
Very good. From Martin Luther King, we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope.
Yes. So hope. I've been accused of providing false hope. What is false hope anyway? That's just such a ridiculous idea, false hope.
Yes.
People come to me with all kinds of strange things, and they've been to a doctor, and the doctor basically says, I mean, in more compassionately than this, but they say, so sad, too bad. You've got this terrible disease. You're going to be on this drug forever. And they come to me and I say, well, listen, an Olympian wakes up every morning and thinks he can break the world's record. What an audacious idea, right?
Yeah.
So, but he wakes up every morning thinking, what do I have to do today to break the world's record? And if we wake up every day with the idea, what do I have to do today to overcome my illness? You can do it. In most cases. Not everyone, not every time, not everywhere, but why not have that mindset?
100%. And Tom, I talk about this a lot in different circumstances in health and wellness, but it applies the same. As soon as you decide that you're going to wake up every day and start working on it, you instantly feel better. And you may never, that athlete may never win the Olympic gold or break the record, but he or she is doing all this. They're creating a brilliant life for themselves, even in ultimate failure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Okay, this is from Viktor Frankl. He said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves.
Yes. Well, that's what we talked about, right? When you run up face in, head-on collision with the very thing that you do not want. I say this, death is rude. It's final in a way that you just can't fathom.
Right.
It's an unfathomable finality, right?
Right.
It's rude, but you run up against it and there's nothing that you're going to do about it. It's just done.
Right.
And so the only thing that's going to change is yourself, not that.
Yep. Well put. I had never heard this one. I love it. It's from Tagore. And he says, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy.
Yes. I mean, so, we can talk about giving. Well, what is that? That's service. And we've already talked about that. There's hard science around this idea that giving is one of the most healthy things you can possibly do. So service, giving, that's all intertwined stuff. And it's absolutely true.
Yep. This is our show anchor. It's from Goff. And he said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Yeah. Well, and Confucius said the journey of 10,000 miles begins with the first step. Same kind of idea. So, there's a woman, I've forgotten her name now, but she lives in New Hampshire and she won the Nobel Peace Prize. And she did it by relentlessly writing to world leaders to stop the use of mines in battle.
Wow.
And she was on NPR, and she's like talking like a sailor, like they're beeping every other word, and but she's just a lady who lives in rural Vermont or wherever it is. And she said, I'm doing this. And she ends up winning the Nobel Peace Prize.
Beautiful.
So, if you think you can't, well, the old saying, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're probably right.
Yeah.
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 You need to
Yeah.
believe you can if you're going to
Yeah.
accomplish anything.
Yeah. And that takes us right back to where you started. That's the basis of functional medicine is, get the stuff out of the way so the body can heal itself and believe that you can get healed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful, Tom. So these quotes aren't just wisdom. They echo, for me, I created them and delivered them to you because they echo the hope and conviction that you carry into every life you touch. And now, friends, I have a sincere request for you. If Tom's story was stirred something in you, if it lifted your spirit, challenged your thinking, or reminded you of your own power, then I invite you to share that energy with the incredible team at WITV7 who make this show possible. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage people in need. Every gift matters, big and small. With your support and their tireless work, lives are being transformed, and our circle of love keeps expanding. So donate today. It'll do good, and it'll make you feel good too. I love your passion and wisdom that you bring to every conversation, and I admire the steady integrity you have forged through decades of practice, service, and personal trial. And I'm super happy that you've shared your curious and compassionate and courageous spirit in our show today. Would you please take a moment and share any parting remarks that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Well, I just want to tell you that I'm going to make this book free to your audience on January 24th. So that's my gift to you, and hopefully that'll inspire some people to donate to the station because I'm donating to you. So I hope that happens. The other thing I just hope you will do, my final thought, just do it. Betty Ford, just do it.
Yeah,
I guess maybe that's Nike, isn't it?
maybe Betty and Nike. I'm not quite
Yeah, I don't
sure.
know. Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you for that, Tom. And I suppose that people can just go to Amazon for the book.
Yeah, so I'll set it up so that all for 24 hours on January 24th,
Yeah.
the book will be the not the solid, not this book, but the Kindle book will be a free download.
Okay. Very good. And the link will be in the show notes. So thank you for all that, Tom. We really appreciate it. And friends, it's because of stories like Tom's and listeners like you that we've been named one of the top 100 life purpose podcasts worldwide, currently
Wow.
ranked at 17th. So thank you. I appreciate your support of our mission and for sharing these stories of inspiration and purpose. I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Tom and reaching folks just like you ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to all things Dr. Tom Sult. Find him, friend him, visit his website to find decades of clinical wisdom, compassion, and purpose. Check out his services, explore his coaching and community programs, even browse the recipes that he has up there, and read his blog for bursts of health wisdom, and read his books for a deep dive, and you can get the one book for free. All his links will be waiting for you in the show notes. And from me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and click Unlock Here and start unlocking the life you were meant to live, one that's filled with purpose and joy and real significance. And once you begin unlocking, think about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.